Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Leap Quest Coast to Coast MBA Playbook. We're talking about the East Coast versus the West Coast in the US. Today, I'm going to do something very different. I won't just talk about the schools, rankings, or GMAT scores. That's superficial. Instead, I will take you deep into the strategic DNA of MBA programs across the US, dissecting the philosophies of the East Coast and the West Coast, how they shape your career, your earnings, and even your personal identity over decades. Because here's the reality, an MBA is not just a degree, it's a career defining bet. It shapes your networks, your wealth trajectory, and the kind of leader you're going to become. And that's why we at LeapQuest exist to help you not to just apply to the programs, but to engineer your MBA fit. And by the end of this webinar, you will know, do you belong to the structured legacy of the Wall Street or the risk taking innovation of Silicon Valley? And that's the choice we will help you decode. When you think of an MBA, the first trap people fall into is rankings. Harvard is number one, Stanford is number two, Wharton is number three. So let me just apply there. That's completely wrong. That's how average applicants think. Genius applicants think differently. When it comes to their professional ambition, where do I want to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years from now? Or if your dream is private equity, Wharton is gold. And if it's launching a venture, Stanford is superior. If it's healthcare policy, Yale is going to beat both of them. When it comes to the geographic location, 80% of the MBAs take jobs within the region of their college. So if you want Wall Street, East Coast is the must, and if you dream of launching a startup, West Coast is fertile ground. When it comes to networks and opportunities, alumni networks are compounding assets. A Stanford alumni doesn't just give you an advice, they'll invest in your startup. A Wharton alum doesn't just introduce you, they can literally open up a 500 million fund. At LeapQuest, our job is to reverse engineer your career ambition into an MBA strategy. Not just where can I get in, but where will I thrive, compound value, and build my legacy. East Coast versus West Coast isn't just where you will live for 2 years, it's about philosophy. East Coast, structured, tradition heavy, globally prestigious. You will learn through case studies, quantitative rigor, consulting frameworks. You graduate into structured career ladders, consulting, investment banking, corporate strategy. And when it comes to West Coast, it's innovative, disruptive, entrepreneurial. You learn through projects, design, thinking, and launching ventures, and you graduate into exponential spaces like tech leadership, venture capital, and startups. Here's the genius framing. It's not which coast has better schools. It's which philosophy will engineer the future that identify you and how it's going to help you in the long run. Leap Quest, this is where we excel. We don't just ask, where do you want to apply? And we would ask you, what do you want to become in the next 5 years? And then we will align your post MBA plans to that vision. Let's look into some of the best MBA programs in the East Coast and just look at this lineup: Harvard, Wharton, Columbia, MIT Sloan, Yale, Dartmouth Tuck, and Duke Fuqua. Harvard is synonymous with leadership, with global prestige. Wharton, again, it's a finance and quant powerhouse, private equity pipelines. And Columbia Business School has that NYC advantage and Wall Street recruiting hub. MIT Sloan, the bridge between the East Coastline discipline and the tech innovation. Yale, it has the global impact, policy, and sustainability. Tuck, small class, but a powerhouse for MBB consulting. Duke, collaborative leadership with corporate pipelines. Cornell Johnson and NYU Stern. It's rooted in New York, strong for finance, fintech, and media tech. Notice the pattern. The East Coast schools definitely project legacy, structure, and gravitas. Their alumni are sitting in boardrooms of Fortune hundreds, managing the billion-dollar funds, shaping global policies. At LeapQuest, when we position you for these schools, we ensure your applications resonates with their DNA, discipline, analytical rigor, and ambition for scale. And what makes the East Coast MBA stand out? There are three pillars. Let's go deeper into the each East Coast advantage. The first one, the corporate gravity. East Coast schools are magnets for consulting and finance. McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. They're not just recruiters here, they're institutions. At Wharton, 36% of the class goes into finance. At HPS, 25% head into consulting. And it has a structured way of learning. The case method at Harvard Business School forces you to think like a CEO under pressure. Wharton's quantitative rigor makes you financially fluent at the highest levels. Columbia's financial labs train you to walk into Morgan Stanley day one, ready to pitch in deals. And definitely the global prestige. These brands carry universal weight. A Wharton alumni walking into Dubai or Hong Kong commands instant credibility. A HPS tag gets you board level considerations in Singapore or London. The genius point: East Coast MBAs just don't place you into jobs, they place you in power pipelines, career ladders where you can ascend systematically into CEO, partner, or managing director roles. Now, let's talk about the culture of the East Coast. They're very competitive, formal, and high intensity. The classroom feels like a pressure cooker. You're surrounded by ex consultants, bankers, policymakers. Discussions are fast paced, data heavy, and even competitive. This culture is not for the faint hearted, but it creates leaders who can thrive in pressure environments, boardrooms, negotiations, and high stake deals. At Leap Quest, we prepare you for this culture, not just in your essays, but in your mindset. We train you to present yourself as someone who belongs into this furnace and can leverage it as a launchpad for the global leadership. Now let's flip the script. The West Coast is the lab of business innovation. These schools don't just produce managers, they produce disruptors. Stanford, the undisputed king of entrepreneurship and the leadership innovation. Berkeley Haas, principal leadership and its Silicon Valley's background. UCLA Anderson, strong tech, environment, and media focus. USC Marshall, Pacific Rim business and global entrepreneurship. UW Foster, it's the Seattle's gem with Amazon, Microsoft, and Starbucks pipelines. You notice the pattern over here. The West Coast MBAs thrive in tech driven entrepreneurial ecosystems, and they're just not about getting placed, they're about creating exponential wealth. At Leap Quest, we help you craft an application that positions you not as a job seeker, but as a job creator, because that's what the mindset West Coast schools are hunting for. What makes the West Coast MBAs unique? There are four defining pillars. Let's decode what makes them truly distinctive. First one, the Silicon Valley proximity. Unlike any other region, these schools sit inside the world's largest tech ecosystem. At Stanford or Haas, recruiters from Google, Apple, Tesla, Meta, and hundreds of startups aren't visitors, they're neighbors. You're learning in the same geography where venture capital flows a billion per quarter. The entrepreneurial mindset. Students here are wired differently. They aren't asking what job can I get, they're asking what company can I create. Think of Stripe, DoorDash, Instacart, all products of Stanford GSP alumni experimenting, failing, pivoting, and eventually disrupting the entire industries. Tech driven careers. The dominant roles here aren't consulting or finance, they're product management, venture capital, growth leadership. When it comes to Amazon, Microsoft, Google, these are not dream recruiters, they're baseline recruiters. The collaborative spirit. East Coast is about competition and the West is about the collaboration. If East Coast is chess, West Coast is like jazz. You improvise, co create, and innovate together. And the genius point: a West Coast MBA is not training you to climb a ladder, it's training you to build ladders that others climb. At LeapQuest, we know exactly how to position you as someone who belongs in this sandbox of innovation, as a candidate with the DNA to disrupt. Let's go deeper into the culture of the West Coast. West Coast MBAs operate on a different wavelength altogether. In New York, you'll see suits, ties, packed calendars. Failure here is not stigma, it's data. Students treat as failed ventures as learning assets, not a career black mark. At LeapQuest, we train you to project this very spirit. That you're not just a consumer of opportunities, but a creator of them. That's the signal West Coast adcoms are searching for. Now let's talk about another interesting topic, that is the post MBA compensation. Let's start with East Coast. Numbers matters, but the meaning behind them matters even more. On the East Coast, the compensation package is cash heavy and immediate. The median base salary would be at 175k, signing bonus at 40k, and the performance bonus at 60k. That's nearly 275k all in your first year post MBA. Who leads these numbers? Consulting and finance. MBB firms like McKinsey, Bain, or BCG will give you 175k plus 40k signing bonus plus performance pay. Investment banks like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, the base salaries is 175 to 180K with bonuses that often exceed the base. That's genius insight, right? And East Coast MBAs offered guaranteed low risk, high prestige wealth, and you're locking in stability, predictability, and upward mobility. So we will help you weigh this certainty against the potential upside of the other ecosystems. Let's look into the post MBA compensation of the West Coast. The structure looks similar at first glance, but it hides an explosive differentiator. So the median base would be at 170K, signing bonus at 25 to 30K, and the equity stock options often unlimited upside. That is the real differentiator. At Google, Apple, or Meta, equity is part of the compensation model. At startups, it's like the golden ticket. Now, let me give you an example. A Stanford grad in 2012 joined Airbnb with equity worth $20,000. By 2021, at IPO, that stake was worth $8 million as of now. The genius framing here is East Coast wealth is equivalent to guaranteed salary, West Coast wealth is equivalent to equity driven and exponential growth. At Leap Quest, we just don't help you target these programs. We will help you think in terms of the wealth design, and you want certainty now or asymmetric upside later. That's the question that you need to ask yourself. Comparing the career outcomes. So let's map the career outcomes side by side. When it comes to consulting, East Coast dominates. Harvard, Wharton, Columbia, Tuck, all MBB pipelines. When it comes to finance, again, East Coast is the playground. Columbia alone, over like 30% of its graduations happens into finance. Tech and product. West Coast is the king. Stanford, Haas, Anderson feed directly into the Silicon Valley giants. Entrepreneurship. West Coast shines again. Stanford alumni alone have created over 100,000 funded startups with billions in VC backing. What's the key takeaway? Your choice of coast isn't about the campus culture, it's a career bet. It's deciding whether you want to anchor in structured consulting finance ladders or in high risk, high reward innovation ecosystems. So we ensure you don't choose randomly and we will help you align coast, school, career, wealth, whatever the priorities are. Now, a crucial point for all international candidates international student representation. Both coasts welcome global talent, but there is a difference. East Coast 30 to 35% of international representation. These schools are global magnets, especially for finance and consulting aspirants from India, China, Europe, and the Middle East. West Coast often 35 to 40%, with an even stronger tilt towards international students in the tech driven schools like Stanford and Berkeley Haas. Why? Because tech is borderless. A brilliant engineer from Bangalore or a founder from any of the good colleges, they will be valued at the Silicon Valley. International students are not outsiders here. They are the central to the ecosystem. So we specialize in guiding international applicants to schools where they just don't get in but thrive with networks that support global careers. Here's the most practical framework in today's session. That is the strategic comparison by career goal. Consulting, MBBO strategy, East Coast, Harvard, Wharton, Sloan have the strongest pipeline, and the West Coast has MBB too, but less volume. When it comes to finance, IB, PE, or VC, East Coast again, Columbia, Wharton dominates the Wall Street. West Coast is stronger for venture capital, weaker for IB and PE. When it comes to tech, be it in product, growth, or data, West Coast, Stanford, Haas, and Anderson have direct pipelines into Google, Amazon, or Apple. When it comes to entrepreneurships or startups, West Coast, Stanford ecosystem alone accounts for $1 trillion in startup market value. When it comes to social impact and policy, it's a split. Yale, Harvard dominate in global impact while Haas and Stanford lead in sustainability and climate innovation. The genius insight over here is that there is no, best coast, and it is only about the best fit for your ambition. At LeapQuest, we will help you map your goals against this matrix so your application is laser focused, career backed, and also strategically aligned. Which are the East Coast powerhouses? Let's look into the top 5 programs. So when we talk about the East Coast powerhouses, we're talking about institutions that don't just educate, but engineer global leadership pipelines. Let's break down 5 of them. Harvard, the average post-MBA salary is at 165K, and the key recruiters are McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Google, and it's known for the case study method. So every Harvard graduate has battled over 500 cases, forcing them to think like CEOs under pressure and, various other things. When it comes to Wharton, the post-MBA salary you can expect is 162K, and the key recruiters would be McKinsey, Bain, JP Morgan, Blackstone, and it's known for finance dominance. When it comes to Columbia Business School, the average post-MBA salary is at 160K, and the key recruiters are JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and McKinsey. And it has that NYC advantage located in Manhattan. So you're literally walking distance from Wall Street. Recruiters don't fly in and they walk in over here. MIT, the average post-MBA salary is at 160K, and the key recruiters are Amazon, Google, Microsoft, McKinsey. And it's again known for tech plus analytics plus innovation. Sloan is the East Coast closest cousin to the Silicon Valley, bridging data-driven leadership with structured rigor. When you're talking about Yale, the post-MBA salary would be at 145K, and the key recruiters are Amazon, Deloitte, and UN agencies and NGOs. And it's known for social impact and sustainability. So if you want to change the world through policies, climate, and non-profit leadership, SOM is unmatched. Genius part over here is that each of these schools have a distinct identity. Your task isn't to apply elsewhere. It's about how we align your story with their specific DNA. As per the DNA of the college, we have to show the spikes in your applications, and that's exactly what we at Leap Quest do. Let's flip to the West Coast, where MBAs are not just graduates but startup architects and tech visionaries. We have the Stanford, the average salary is at 175K. The acceptance rate is 6 to 8%, the most selective in the world. And the key recruiters would be from Google, McKinsey, Bain, Amazon, Meta. And when it comes to Berkeley Haas, it's at 155K, the average salary, and the acceptance rate is slightly higher, it's 15%. And the key recruiters would be Google, Salesforce, Adobe, and Tesla. And when it comes to UCLA Anderson, right, the average salary is at 145K, and the key recruiters would be from Amazon, Google, and Deloitte. And the acceptance rate over here is 20%. When it comes to USC Marshall, the average pay would be at 140K, and the acceptance rate is 27%, and the key recruiters would be from EY, Deloitte, Amazon, and so on. And then we have the University of Washington, that is Foster. The average pay would be at 135K, and the acceptance rate is at 22%. And the key recruiters would be from Amazon, Microsoft, Starbucks, and so on. Now, the West Coast MBAs give you not just careers, they also give you the ecosystem access. So you're plugged directly into Silicon Valley, Seattle, or LA. And the networks here are venture driven and not just employer driven. And when you consider the cultural difference between the East and the West, the East Coast MBAs are more structured, tradition heavy. You get to see suits, ties, case studies, and Wall Street internships. It's competitive, formal, prestige driven. And the thing, how do I climb the ladder? When it comes to the West Coast, it is entrepreneurial, innovation driven, hoodies and brainstorming and startup pitches and VC calls and collaborative and risk taking and casual. And they keep thinking, how do I build the ladder? Here's the most important part. Neither culture is better. The question is, do you thrive in structured intensity or in collaborative disruption? At LeapQuest, we decode your personal DNA and align it with the course that amplifies your strengths. Now let's talk about the acceptance rate for the international students. The ultra elite, be it Stanford, Harvard, Wharton, it's up to 9% acceptance. The elite, like MIT, Sloan, Columbia, Booth, Kellogg, Berkeley Haas, up to 15% acceptance. And when it comes to UCLA, Tuck, Yale, NYU Stern, Duke, it's up to 22%. And the accessible ones are Marshall, Foster, Tepper, Cornell Johnson, up to 30% acceptance rate. And when it comes to regional programs like UC Davis and Santa Carla, you have up to 40% of the acceptance. And it's not about chasing the lowest acceptance rate school you think you can get into. It's about aligning your profile strategically. At LeapQuest, we will decode your candidacy into tiers of fit. Then we craft the tiered application portfolios, a mix of ultra elite stretch schools, elite target colleges, and strong safety schools, giving you a portfolio that maximize both your admissions and a good amount of scholarships as well. We have done several webinar sessions on the post-MBA compensation by country, colleges, and all of that, but we will just quickly glance through this. And in case if you want much more deeper insights with respect to this particular topic, you can go to our YouTube channel again, and there are several topics wherein we're talking about the post-MBA specializations and the pay that you can get with respect to which specializations, by what geographical location, and from which country. All of that information is available. Okay, so let's look into this quickly. And if you graduate from any of the top premier institutions in the US, be it for consulting, right, you can be getting paid somewhere between 165 to 175K base and 30 to 40K as your signing bonus with structured career paths. When it comes to finance, right, you can expect somewhere between 175 to 180K base with 40 to 50K signing bonus, and it's six-figure performance bonus. And when it comes to tech, so 135 to 145K and 25 to 30K signing bonus with equity upside, and healthcare 130 to 140K base and 20 to 25K signing bonus. When it comes to startups, up to 80 to 90K salary, and the upside would be the multi-million equity if successful. And an MBA isn't an expense, it's a compounding asset. Even in conservative tracks like consulting, the ROI is 3 to 5x over a decade. In tech and startups, the ROI can be exponential. So we would train you not just to get the admission, but to think about the MBA choices as wealth design, because your post MBA compensation trajectory depends on the ecosystem you choose. This is where most applicants go wrong. They treat MBA admissions as a beauty contest. Which school is ranked higher? That's the wrong lens. The right lens is which MBA fits my identity, ambition, and career vision. If it's East Coast, then finance, consulting, and global prestige. West Coast it is tech, startups, and innovation. M7 programs, best of both the worlds, but brutally selective. And the MBA is not about the next 2 years, it's about the next 20 years. You're not just choosing the program, you're choosing the platform for your future self. At LeapQuest, we will help you design this fit with surgical precision, because when your application screams alignment, admission follows naturally. So, why choose LeapQuest for your MBA journey for the 2026 intake? We're currently assisting students with a combination of schools in round one and round two and round three and rolling admissions. All sorts of categorizations are happening. Now, why choose this? Because we are not just application fillers, we are like career architects for you. And we give you that personalized approach. Every application is crafted for your unique DNA. And there's an experienced team that you're working with, consultants from top schools that have walked this journey already. And there's a comprehensive support, be it in terms of the essays, the letter of recommendations, video essays, interview preparations, everything is covered. And beat the M7s, the top three pro colleges in the Europe or NUS, SMU, or the top 2 to 3 programs in India. So we have been sharing a lot of success rate with you with the admit letters and the interview invites, to an extent that we have also shared the essay drafts of our students. How did the essays look before editing and after editing, so that you'll get a complete transparent opinion about LeapQuest. And in case if you start your journey with us, what are the kind of outcome you can expect with the 4-member team that would be assigned to you. What are the next steps? Book your free profile evaluation. Know where you stand and how far you can go. Craft your personalized strategy, because no two MBAs or applicants are of the same. Build game changing applications. With us in your corner, every essay lands, every story sticks. This isn't just an application season, there's a transformation timeline, guys. So these are the commercials that we have. So we have it from 1, 3, 5, 8, and even 10 schools package. Ideally, the 1 and 2 schools packages are for re-applicants. Somebody who's already applied before, they still haven't gotten, right? And they want to apply to the same 1 or 2 colleges, right? We do a DING analysis and help them apply as re-applicants with a bit of profile building activities also. Now, ideally, the ones who are looking at smaller countries like only India or only Canada or only Singapore, go for 3 schools package. If you're looking at a bigger country like only Europe or only US, you can go for 5 colleges. And somebody's looking at a combination of 2 countries like India and Europe, right? Or Asia and US, or US and Europe, right? A combination of 2 countries, then ideally they go for 5 to 8 programs. But ideally, an aspirant should be like this. So you apply to 5 colleges, get a minimum of 3 to 4 interview invites and 2 to 3 admissions. This should be the basic strategy for you to apply in round 1. And we charge 30,000 per college, so you can take up any number of colleges. And if you're looking at anything beyond an MBA program, like any specialized masters or masters in management or masters in engineering management or masters in finance, right? Then it would be 20K per college. So take the next step, guys. You can visit our website, go to the contact form, keep an inquiry with us, and we will have a detailed session with you, giving you a plan of action for the round 1 or the round 2 deadlines, be it for Europe or US or Asia or any other countries that you're looking at. And right after that, you can take a call with respect to what should be your strategy and what are the actual elements that matters in your applications. Is it just a GMAT score, or if you're planning to go with the GMAT waiver route, what are the other options that you have, and what are the eligibility criteria for the same? All of that can be discussed. Thank you so much, guys, for attending another webinar session. And I think, in terms of choosing the right format, be it the 1 year or the 2 year MBA program, right? This particular session was, informative. We just hope that it was informative. And thank you so much again for attending this session. Very important content related to the 1 year versus 2 year, the best 1 year MBA programs in Europe, and the top 1 year MBA programs in the US, right? And whether to choose a 1 year or a 2 year MBA program as per your work experience, or if you're planning to have a career transition or a progression or to earn a lot of money, what are the best choices? All of that can be discussed much more further in detail. But all of this information would be again shared over an email, and whoever is typing interested in the chat box, right, in this session would be getting all the information like over an email and also on your WhatsApp through the form of PDF. Thank you so much again. Darshan this side signing off from Leap Quest. And we would get back to you with another interesting topic. And yes, guys, thank you so much. Bye bye. Have an amazing weekend.